So, hello, Beth and Donna Leslie.
Hi, Dirk.
Oh, Dirk.
And we are joining you today because a friend referred us to Beth, who I believe at the age of 7 had brain cancer, right? Is that accurate?
Yes,
And okay,
medulloblastima.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you say that when we get, I'll lose the pronunciation. But what we're going to talk about that today and talk about your journey to where you are today. But before we get started, I thought I'd ask you both just to kind of tell us about your lives now and your families, kind of introduce yourself a little bit. So Beth, if you want to go first.
Sure. My name is Bethany Leslie. I'm now 29 years old. I'm going to be 30 this year. Hard to believe. I've got my husband, Chris, and our 2 boys, Abel and Caden, are now, I have to think, 8 and 6. What else would you like to know about me?
That's fine.
Sir?
Yeah. What is there something else you want to tell us? This is your story, so.
Yeah, we can go on and see what Mom has to say.
All right, sounds good. So how about you, Donna?
Okay, I'm Donna Leslie, and I live on Pheasant Run First Nation with my partner and our 6 dogs. And I have, in addition to I have Bethany, and I have 2 other children as well, an older sister and a younger brother. And yeah, and 7 grandchildren, 2 by Bethany and 5 by my older daughter. And yeah, I've been self-isolating for a few years now, actually.
Is that on purpose, or is there a reason for that?
I mean, it's just nice because we're in the hills and we have the dogs, and they're free to run wherever they want to, and they mostly just like to stay home.
So this is nothing new for you then, right?
It's nothing new for me. I still go to work every day, but I'm in a little corner and nobody to bother me, or I mean, I do interact with the odd person, but mostly I'm just there with my gloves on and doing my work.
Great, outstanding. So, so Beth, you were 7 when I guess you guys discovered the cancer. So what was going on at the time? I mean, what was your situation? Go ahead.
7 in grade 2. I was getting headaches every day. My mom was picking me up every day, going to the med clinic in town, and they were always telling her, well, it's just migraine headaches, just give her some Tylenol or whatever. But after 5 weeks of this, they figured, well, there must be something going on. So that's when they sent me for my CT scan at the IDBK, I believe it was, Mom?
Yeah.
In Halifax, Nova Scotia. And that's where they found the Macintosh apple in my brain. The medulloblastima is the term for the tumor I had.
So you were having headaches like you were going to the clinic or doctor every day for about 5 weeks?
Yeah.
Actually, as I remember, she would get a severe headache so bad that she was throwing up from it. Every 2 weeks, you could almost mark it on the calendar that she was going to get another one. And then, so I took her to the doctor each time every 2 weeks. And then eventually the one doctor asked me if it would ease my mind if she sent us for a CAT scan. And I said, I still don't know the answer to that.
What do you mean you still don't? What do you mean you still don't know the answer to that?
Did it ease our mind? I mean, now that it's all over, yes, maybe. But in the beginning, no, it certainly didn't ease our mind.
Yeah. But
sorry.
No, yeah, absolutely. So maybe it was the question would have been better worded is would it at least give you something to go off of if we can see what's going on, right?
Yeah, and it did do that.
And it clearly still impacts you 22 years later.
Yeah. She's 20 years in remission.
Yeah.
Or cancer free.
So what do you mean? You said there was an app. Would you say a Macintosh apple? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
How big it was.
It was the size of an apple?
Yeah.
it was. They told us that it was the size of a plum when they went in. So about this, and they told it would be a 5-hour surgery, but it ended up being a 10-hour surgery. And it was like, it wasn't in there like a solid mass. It was like pressed between her brain and her skull. So it was causing her to have mild seizures too, that we didn't know until after what they were.
I didn't know that.
So she was having mild seizures, just like undetectable, or what
Yeah,
was that?
like her teacher would tell her to sit still in class, and she wouldn't be sitting still, but she didn't know that she wasn't sitting still. Or she'd stand her at the back of the class and tell her to stand still. She would think she was standing still. And after the fact, we think that she was having a seizure at those times.
That does make sense. So you went in and they did the CAT scan,
Mhm.
and Mom, were you thinking at the time? I mean, were you thinking that you might get some really drastic news, or were you just kind of thinking, I just want to know what's going on?
Well, and the CAT actually was done in Truro, Nova Scotia. And we got the results within a couple of hours, I think, or we got home again. We were about an hour outside of Truro, so we got home again, and then we got a word that it was something that we needed to go in and see a neurosurgeon. So we headed for the IWK then, and then yeah.
Was that was same day, or was that shortly thereafter?
It was, yeah, I think the next morning actually, and the neurosurgeon himself actually met us in the ER. And they didn't do surgery right away. They did some more tests and everything, and yeah, and decided that she needed 6 weeks of radiation therapy, which she did.
Comes my son, Caden.
Hi, Caden. How are you?
Yeah.
Good. What's on your shirt, Caden?
What does it say on your shirt? Run.
Run, jump. Is that what it says?
Run.
Run, jump, fly.
There you go. You can do those first two things on your own, probably. The third one,
I'm 6. You're 6.
way to go, buddy.
Big 6, yay. Gonna be 7 soon.
Okay. Go away. Go find Daddy. They're downstairs. Okay, go find him.
So Beth, you were about his age when that happened. Then maybe you were 1 year older than that. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, he's gonna be 7 in July.
There you go. I'll be 48 in July, so a couple years older. So, Beth, what do you remember about all that? About when you went to the doctor and they found it and then came out? I mean, what are your recollections?
Well, I don't really, like I said, I thought I went for the CT in Halifax, but I just remember that I went for the CT scan, and then I remember being at home and my grandma and everyone was there, and they were just all crying, and because we had to go back. I think that was the next day, and everybody came to see me. Obviously, there was something going on, but so we found out I had to go back, and there was something serious going on. That's really what I remember from the very beginning. I don't remember a lot.
Yeah, I find, and I've talked to a few people, and just in general, when you talk to people, when you're going through it, you're just going through it, right? I mean, it's emotional, but what are you going to do other than fight for it and push?
And then as I was that young, I didn't really understand how. I knew it was serious, but I didn't really understand what was going on per se.
Yeah.
At the same time. But.
So, Donna, did she had the radiation before the surgery?
No,
Okay.
She had the surgery first, and then she started her radiation. She had another little day surgery after her brain surgery, so that they could put a double lumen portacath in because they
Mhm.
were going to pump in a lot of drugs. So they had to have 2 access places to put that stuff in. So, but it kept.
Yeah, and that was 6 weeks. So how
And
long
she was
was it?
sick right from the first radiation treatment, right from the first day. And she had to have a mask made, like a cast, like an old school cast, like a
Full
white
body mask. Literally.
plaster cast, and she had to lay face down on this table
Remember,
with
I had just got
her
my port
eye
test.
holes cut out of it and her ears, like it was her ears were cut out of it too. And yeah, and she had to lay with her arms to her side and face down, and she had that big portacath in her
I
chest,
just got that in the day before, and
specially
it was
made with a little pocket in there for that to sit into. And yeah, and they made one special for a little dog that she used to carry around with her. So she had this made before, like a couple of weeks before she had to go for her treatments. But
one of my favorite stuffed animals I had gotten from one of my classmates at the time. I was carrying it around with me all the time. Little Dalmatian dog.
Do you remember the dog's name?
I think I named it Vance.
Vance?
Yeah.
That's a very advanced name.
Well, that was the boy's name that gave it to me. So.
Okay, there you go. There you go. So 6 weeks of radiation in and you had to be in. You're saying a body cast? Like she had to lay into a cast so that she wouldn't move?
only for the treatment part.
Oh, wait.
Like she had to go to the center every day for like 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. Had an appointment and went to the radiation center every day. And then they'd bring her in, put her in this cast and line her all up. It had to be exact where they were doing it. It's all scientific. I didn't understand, still don't, all that stuff. But yeah, every day, 5 days.
I still remember the smell.
Say what, Beth?
I said I still remember the smell. It smelled like rotten eggs, the radiation.
And
Really?
yeah, some kids reported they smelled something, and yeah, and it was different for every kid or every person too.
So
she was one of the only children going to the radiation center, so she's just about every day we went there.
yeah, probably with a
All
bunch
those
of
senior citizens had for a child. I was like, I felt guilty walking with a little girl, and they were like always throwing gifts to her. Like spoiling her rotten.
Well, I was a little girl that always took over the TV. I always used to put it on CMT, and most of the time Reba would be on, and I'd belt out to her. And then all these old people are sitting there just cheering me on, and then they threw a birthday party for me for my 8th birthday, and they gave me a Reba CD.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
They also gave her a Backstreet Boys and a Spice Girls CD. They had met her and made a relationship with her. So her 8th birthday was on her 2nd radiation treatment.
So there
and then her first chemotherapy was on her 8th birthday as well.
Okay. So yeah, so you had a relationship with all these older people, and Donna, you said senior citizens, so it sounds like definitely older people.
Well, they were like, well, I mean, to me at the time too, they were senior citizens. They are probably my age now. I don't necessarily consider myself a senior citizen yet, but
Of course not. Of course not.
So you're only 25, Mom.
What's that?
I said you're only 25. That's where you stop counting, isn't
I'm
it?
actually 29 with 29 years experience.
There you go. So Beth, you remember the Reba CD? I mean, so do you remember the relationship you had with the adults that were all in there with you?
Somewhat, a little bit, not so much.
Okay.
I remembered one lady there. She gave me a gingerbread house one time. But I remember odd things, but I don't remember a whole lot from.
Sure. So how long were the treatments? How for the radiation chemo, and when was it complete? And when it was complete, were you completely cancer free at that time, or was there more to do after that?
I think Mom can answer this one.
Okay.
Yeah, she had the 6 weeks of radiation. So that took us, her birthday's in September, so that would have taken us to the middle of October. And during this time, she'd be getting what we called the small chemotherapy. So she'd lost her hair by this time, and she was, yeah, really quite skinny and sick, and didn't eat anything too. And she was the last child in the brain tumor clinic where we went that they put their G tube into their stomach to feed them at the same time as their portacath. After Beth had to do 2-day surgeries to get those 2 things put in.
The G tube was a lifesaver.
That's what fed her for the rest of the time until she was able to eat, and it was weeks after she was finished her last chemo.
Before that, I had to get tubes put up my nose, and I had to have Mom plus, I'm sure, like 5 other nurses hold me down just to get that thing in there. That's the worst feeling ever. And
Yeah.
at the beginning, before all of this, I used to kind of giggle at the other kids that were walking around with tubes taped to their nose. But then when I had it done to myself, I knew better.
So that was all just for nutrition, to be able to feed you because you couldn't keep food
that
down?
was right from the beginning. And yeah, and she was so sick that she would just vomit that tube right back up. So they reinsert it, and it was just a constant trauma. So even though every child wouldn't need it, she was the last one that they put that G tube in at separate times. They put it in there, and then it would have a little balloon or like a beach ball little thing on her stomach. They'd open it up and put a tube in there to feed her, and then when she wasn't feeding, she would close it up, and you wouldn't know it was there. She still has a big scar, but
Me and my sister still have a funny memory about that. I was home one summer, and her and I had gone for a bike ride, and I lost control, and I went down the hill with my backpack on my feet tube on. I still had it on my back, and I was going down this hill with all these trees around me, and my sister's at the top of this hill yelling, "Beth, are you okay?" We're just laughing our butts off.
Oh, hey, I'm sure Mom found that funny too, right?
We still laugh about it to this day. So
and that was at a time when she needed to be fed pretty much 24 hours a day. That's why she carried it in a little backpack on her back. Yeah, the little mini pump that they designed. And yeah, she was on the go. She could up and off she'd go to the playroom or wherever she'd just be go.
So how how long did all that last?
It was 8 6-week courses of chemo. So she would go in to the hospital and have this chemo, and some kids would go home the next day or the next week. Like some of them had to be over a course of 18 hours. Some of them had to be over a course of 4 hours. It was she had about 5 or 6 different kinds of chemotherapy that they were pumping into her. So she'd be walking around, and she'd have these 2 double lumen IV pumps. You've ever seen? There's like 4 things that can pump through those things. And then she'd have another one down below it with a couple more in it. And her feed pump in the hospital. She'd be going down the hall, running around, carrying this big heavy pump that was like twice the size of her.
I had my wheelchair taken away the first day after my big surgery. I remember that.
They made her sit in a wheelchair because they wanted her to go slow, like slow. you're not back to normal. Like they didn't fall or bump her head for all, she was 7 years old though, or 8 years old. So it was just, no, 7 years old. She was 7 then.
Just doing wheelies down the hall.
Yeah, tough to keep.
And after her surgery, she had 38 staples in the right side of her head. And so her hair was shaved there, but she had long hair other than that on the other side. So, but it was the stylish thing to have a funky hairdo like that on Spring Garden Road in Halifax.
That was the thing that all the crazy people walked
But
there.
she was too sick to go down, but she always thought she was on Spring Garden Road.
So Beth, I was going to ask you about that. What do you, at the time, what were you doing for school, or do you remember, or was it just a matter of you just missed a year of school?
I still did school when I was well enough in school, and then when I was well enough, I was able to go home to visit my class. I would have been in grade 3 at the time. I remembered I still had my feed tube at the time, and I used to make that tube kink on purpose just to make it, because it would beep if it gets kinked. It's not going in correctly, so it'll beep and make an alarm. So I did that a couple times just to make the class turn around and see what's going on. Just to cause attention, I guess.
She did know how to cause attention, or she knew how to clear a room if she didn't be in the room, like her little brother. She would just make some noises like she was going to be sick, and everybody would leave. And sometimes she was just making the noise just to do it.
Just 'cause.
Well, you learn fast, right?
She did learn very fast. She pushed everybody's buttons.
I still have a little jam jar with those 38 staples in it too, and a big ball of, it sounds silly, but I still have a ball of hair that, because my dad brushed my hair when I was getting chemo and it was just starting to fall out. I've got a big ball of hair in a plastic bag I've had all these years still stashed away.
So what do you mean?
Dad and uncles were all shaving their head for Beth.
Like when he brushed my hair, this big ball of hair, was the first time my hair started falling out.
So they pulled the staples out one by one, and you just saved every single one of them in a jar?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it didn't hurt. You could feel the pressure with them, but it didn't hurt.
Sure.
I remember that.
Okay.
Everybody looks at me. They're like, "You had staples in your head? That must have hurt." Not really.
They're designed for that. There's lots of wounds that they use them for now.
Yeah, it's just like stitches or anything else that, if it's made to do that, it's,
they've come a long way with technology and stuff, but they were kind of a new thing back then, I guess. But
yes, I think I've mentioned to people before that I'm hopeful that my kids and my grandkids will be in the generations where you don't have to poison your body to get over cancer. That's because clearly you went through that whole thing, and it's just brutal on everybody.
Yeah, it was hard on everybody. The older kids, or the older kids, younger kids. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't work either. I was at the hospital every day with her, except for about 2 days, and then she took a really bad turn those 2 days that I wasn't there. So I didn't go anymore.
My mom and my dad were both with me, but Dad had to go back because he had to go back to work because there was bills and things that are still having to be paid. So I had pictures of my dad up on the wall, and I used to look at them every day and I'd start crying because I missed them. But I had my mom with me, so she was there with me for 2 years. 2 years in the hospital.
And so you spent basically ages 7 through 9 in the hospital, and then it sounds so. Donna, you said 20 years cancer free. So that was the end of the cancer at the end of those 2 years.
Yeah. After that, I gave her growth hormone shots for about a year. After that, but I gave up on that. She hated being poked anymore, and I didn't like doing it, and she wouldn't do it to herself. So I just it's not life and death. So she's short, but it's not the end of the world.
You can join the club on that one.
I'm 6'3", and
No,
she's
but I'm kind of glad
5'1".
I'm 6 foot tall.
Wait a minute, Donna, you're 6'3"?
Yes.
You're
Well, tell me 6'3.5", closer to 6'4", but I'm getting old. So now I'm about little less than 6'3", maybe.
okay. And then Beth, you're 5'1", is that right?
5'1", 5'3"
Okay.
ish, somewhere around there.
I'm
You're
5'3"-ish too. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. See,
No.
so that's why I gave up on the growth hormone. They said it wasn't all about height or whatever. There's different things that wouldn't grow properly, but she turned out okay.
Yeah, of course. So that's what I was going to ask, Beth. So what about lasting impacts? Because you're talking about growth hormones. I'm sure the goal of doctors was to avoid some lasting impact, maybe on how you grew. But what were there other lasting impacts for you that have impacted your life, either at the time or through the years?
Not really, just hair growth. My hair is super thin where I had my scar and on the top where I had most radiation and treatment given. But so we were told in the beginning that my hair will never grow back like the way it was. And then believe it or not, before all this my hair was blonde and I had ringlets, like tight ringlets, thick hair, and now it came back in brown when it grew back in. Straight and brown.
That's fascinating. So you had blonde curly hair and now you got straight brown hair.
Yeah, I had Shirley Temple hair. And
She did. It was down in the middle of her back. That's why it didn't take very long for it to fall out. She had little wispies, but she was bald very early on.
So
They called it a hip hat they gave her. It was like a skull cap, kind of, or a half of one. And then it had 18 inches of hair attached to it, real hair.
But then you had to wear a hat over it.
And
It was a
then
mesh
so she could
top.
wear any hat she wanted with this hair. But the kids made more fun of her with that on than they did with the
When I
bald head.
was able to go to school, I was the only kid allowed to wear a hat in school, and that's why a lot of people or kids disliked me, because I was getting a lot more things I was allowed to do than a lot. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Just I was allowed to do a lot more things, that like wearing a hat or like just things, and then
Having to go out at
kids
recess
always
time or anything.
sorry.
Having to go out at recess time and stuff.
Yeah, and then I didn't really have many friends then either, because they just thought cancer was contagious, like they catch it from me or something. So those are all kids, right? Kids be kids. They don't know really.
Yeah, that's what I was that was one of the things I was on my list to ask, was what you went through, because kids are cruel. Adults are cruel, but kids just, if they think something and they don't understand much, they'll just come right out with it. So, I mean, you mentioned that you had to wear a hat and had some, I guess it sounds like it's kind of a wig of sorts, like a cap with a wig.
It's got a mesh top that covers your head, it holds it on, and then you wear whatever hat you like over top of that.
It sounds like Bret Michaels. You know who Bret Michaels is? Donna, do you know who Bret Michaels is?
Oh, a wrestler.
No, with Poison, right? Isn't that his name?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Well,
It sounds weird.
that was her hair.
I know who that
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah, that was her hair.
Like a big bandana with hair coming out the back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
But it was all the way around, like it went all the way around. Just there was nothing in the front, obviously, or she did.
It was just covering the top of my head, and then
And it
hair.
was very high up here, the little band or whatever, so she could just put on any hat that she wanted. In the winter, she could wear a toque, but she gave it up very quick. I used to braid it or whatever, and that would last for a couple of days, but she got sick of that. And yeah, it was a chore keeping it brushed, worse than your own normal hair.
So Beth, if you gave that up, were you? I mean, at the time, did you have no hair and you're going to school
Yeah, I
without
was
hair?
just going without hair, or I wore a hat. I wore hats lots of
She
times.
wore lots of hats. People were always giving her a cute little hat. She had a little red one with Mickey Mouse on the, or no, Pooh on the front of it.
Yeah, it was Pooh Bear and
The
Eeyore.
little grannies were always making her little knit.
Hat everywhere.
Lots of creative people in Nova Scotia. She had lots of hats.
It was like one of those golfer hats.
A visor, like it's the top is
No,
open.
it had a top on it. Had a top on it, the hat. It was red, kind of fleece material.
Yeah,
Kind of like a, what do you call that? Men wear them up front.
French Chapeaus or whatever.
Backwards, so you could see the Pooh emblem on the back of it.
I have no idea.
One like that. I can't even pick a name of who wears one of those like that. I know I've seen men wear them all the time.
I pictured golfers wearing them.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's like it's got a little snap up here in the front, but you turn it around.
Yeah, not always a snap, but yeah, that kind of hat, and it's just kind of low. It's a low profile, and
I don't know what that's called.
I don't know. I forget what it's called too.
Yeah. It's like a beret. Anyway, forget it.
Anyway.
So, Beth and Donna, did you have concerns about, I mean, honestly, about brain function after getting through all this? Because, I mean, you have a tumor the size of a plum or a small apple in there that gets removed. What are your concerns after that for, like, education or learning or shoot, something as simple as breathing or walking?
Yeah, everything functions well. I mean, she's a little hazy on math and like scientific things, but anything creative, she aces that all over. Right? And math, she has to do math somewhat too. I mean, she loves to cook, so you have to kind of know math a little bit.
I know my basics, but if you ask me to do fractions or any high numbers adding or whatever, like, forget it. I'm not your person.
That was another reason why the kids didn't like her, because she was always allowed to use a calculator, because they knew, because they did a bunch of testing to know where her skill set was.
And because I missed so much school, like, I was held behind in grade 7, and I felt like a complete idiot because of that.
But it was the best thing ever.
I missed, most of grade 2, 3, and
no, you were diagnosed at the end of grade 2. We were in summer holidays when they finally diagnosed you.
Yeah.
And then grade 3, you were a visitor.
But I didn't really do much grade 2. I was sick half of the time, so. But anyways.
Yeah. So how were the kids? I imagine, like any kid, you've got some tight friends, and then you've got other kids to deal with. But just all the way through school, was it a challenge the entire way, or was it something that faded as kids grew older? And
I did have a couple friends that were, but I wasn't always home to spend time with or well enough. But I did have a couple friends that I kept through to junior high and then high school. And I still talk to this day.
Yeah.
I still keep in touch with. I've got a good handful of friends that I still talk to from back then.
Nova Scotia, where we lived, is very rural too, so you had to drive your kids to take them somewhere too. But and Beth had some fun along the way too. She got to go to Camp Good Time. How many times?
Yeah.
4 times.
A few times. Sad that doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
But I met lots of cool people too, though. Like, I met the Mooseheads at the IDBK. Yeah. I have pictures with the Mooseheads at their Stanley Cup that they won, and an ice skating team. I have their pictures and their autographs. And I met Louis Trigavason, the astronaut. I still have his astronaut badge that he gave me. Louis Trigavason. I don't know how I remembered that.
Yarny Trigvason, his name was.
What?
Yarny Trigvason.
Pronouncing it wrong, apparently. I thought I did well.
Mhm. He was
So-
a Canadian astronaut.
Okay. Did Canada have a space program at the time? Or did,
No, I mean, he was back, I mean, maybe at the time. They must have had something, but he was from Canada. I must have immigrated too, but yeah, with a name like that, but
One year we had a wizard come there too, and he did this magic trick with me with this red ball. He had it in his hand, and it appeared in my hand from across the room. And I remember we went on a trip as a family to, what was the park called? Point Pleasant Park or something in Nova Scotia. And the same wizard was there, and he did that exact same trick with me. This was a couple years later. He did that exact same trick with me. I thought that was the coolest thing. I don't know if he remembered who I was or if it was just coincidence that I just happened to.
so what is you mentioned Camp Good Time, and you went there 4 times, and it doesn't exist anymore. What is that?
it was a
Camp Good Time?
a cancer society, Canadian Cancer Society, and they had doctors and nurses and volunteers. A lot of them were medical students, and the kids had the time of their life for a week. Bethany went with 2 cases of formula and a backpack full of medications, most of them liquid because they had to be put through her tube. And yeah, she had the time of her life 4 times.
And it was the kids. We had
Her and her
cancer,
sister were one.
whatever. They were all sick, and they all had our doctors. And if we ever needed anything, then the doctors and the nurses were there and ready to help us have a happy, good time and take our mind away from being sick, just having fun.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of camps like that, and it's a shame that one doesn't exist, but hopefully something has replaced it that's just as good for kids that need
I
it.
just found out about that just recently, that they just didn't have the funding or something, and they had to pass it up. So, but it was really good while it lasted.
And she was granted a wish from the Wish Foundation too. She could have chosen anything, but she wanted more than anything a computer. So they gave her the computer and the desk, all the software, had someone come out to our rural location and install it. And yeah, it was amazing.
And that was
Yeah,
probably, go ahead.
Well enough, so we were staying at the Point Pleasant Lodge at the time with Mom. It was a hotel there in Halifax, and my mom just asked me, if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? I didn't realize I was getting a wish from the Wish Foundation. But I wished for that computer, and it was like $5,000 worth of games and a huge computer desk, like a big, like, it wasn't
It was like
just a
an
little
office
computer.
thing.
It was like a huge computer desk with like huge shelves and all the different compartments.
All the heavy
and
hardware you needed in the 90s.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It's before the internet, and you probably had like a green screen on it, right?
we had dial-up internet still.
It was pretty slow, but she played lots of games, like the Dalmatian game. Oh, that was a fun one. Us parents played that game too. It was fun.
So
Internet was the big thing when we first got that hooked up. Dad gave us the big talk, is you can find a lot of things on the internet, so you have to be really careful and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay.
nobody knew, and you could still find those things on the internet.
Yeah.
So it must. I don't know if fortunate's the word, but I mean, for this to be like you went through 2 years of hell. I mean, right, of really challenging times with mom's dealing with a young girl who's somewhat aware of what's going on, but really just kind of moving on with life. And it sounds like you had a lot. You were pretty rambunctious. It sounds like, Beth, to me.
The statistics that it's girls her age that get the tumors like that. She had more girls her age.
Really?
And boys are a little bit older than getting that kind of tumor. But,
Now, what was it called again?
medulloblastoma.
So
and it was on her right temporal lobe.
Yeah.
Is
I didn't
there
know anything about the brain before this all happened. But
is there a
No, but-
cause for
but-
that? Or?
they didn't. Yeah, there was no cause. I mean, did she bump her head really hard, or was it because we both smoked? Our parents, like as her parents, we're both smokers. You know, do we feel guilty? I did, and I still kind of do. But I do still smoke. But I don't think that was the cause. But and you know, everybody has speculations of what it might be from, but I don't know what exactly. And it seemed like what the IWK had a lot of cases of brain tumors in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I didn't ask.
I made
They served the whole Maritimes, but then the majority of the patients in there with brain tumors were from Nova Scotia.
Okay.
I made a lot of friends during that time. I made a lot of friends. I met a lot of people, and I lost a few friends too. They didn't make their battle, but
So those are kids your age, or just young people?
Various ages. Various ages.
yeah, they might have been a little older or younger than me, or they're just
Or there's boys, mostly boys, but there was a lot. There was and she was on the same floor every time she went to the hospital with kids that had nephrotic syndrome or anything related to the kidneys, like kids that had kidney transplants and such like that. So I found myself feeling lucky when we were walking onto the ward to be getting her next chemotherapy, because I let myself see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But those kids, they were always going to be on anti-rejection drugs and whatever, and they were so picked on. I felt kind of lucky.
It's yeah, amazing to see that kind of light in that kind of situation. But Donna, did you say something there and I didn't hear it?
No.
Okay. I can hear the grace in your voice, Donna. You just feel so fortunate that you still got Beth.
Yeah, we still got her.
Yeah. Well, so Beth, you were.
She's got 2 boys.
Yeah.
We were led to believe that she wouldn't be that wouldn't be possible because of the radiation went down her spine as well. So it could have, permanently damaged her ovaries or anything else in their reproductive area.
they told Mom that I wouldn't be able to have kids. They told Mom that I wouldn't be able to have kids, so I went in to my early adulthood when most people start thinking about having a child and just thinking I won't have kids or whatever. But when we found out we were pregnant, we named our first son Abel because I was able to have him.
So yeah, that's awesome. And so when I kind of, how do you feel, Beth? I mean, I know you don't think about this on a daily basis, right? You're just living your life, but to go through something like that at such a young age, and here you are, and you've got. I mean, it sounds like by all accounts a fully normal life, right? Like you're living day to day. I mean, what are your feelings on that?
I feel lucky, happy to still have the chance to be here.
Yeah.
And live day to day, especially, well, I didn't understand then how bad it was, and I didn't really understand the past few years how serious or terminal it was, really, but just feel blessed to still be given a chance to be here today and be here with my family.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I'm really glad you guys are, came on here to tell your story. I don't have much else to add or ask myself, but is there anything that either of you would like to add, or comments, or something that might help somebody out there that's going through this right now?
Just a funny tidbit. I had a friend, my girlfriend, which I talked to before this. She knows that I was coming on to talk with a friend about my story. She told her boyfriend about it. She was one of the kids that kind of teased me when I was younger. I won't say her name, but she told her boyfriend, and he said, well, she better not talk about me she better not talk about you, because the first thing I'm going to talk about is the bullies that tease me or whatever, right? But I said no. She's like, okay, good, and she's looking forward to seeing this video.
That's
you know
really
who
great.
you are.
Yeah. I've gone through similar things where you have people that you did not get along with, you're younger, and you as you grow older, you realize we're all the same. We're all going through the same things, similar things, and just trying to raise our families and keep a roof over our heads for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And to have people reach out even and within the past few years, reach out and apologize and I didn't even really think about it, but it just meant a lot that they actually took the time to reach out and say something like that. I remember they were doing some kind of test for this medicine hat or something, that red and white hat, that magic hat or something. I don't know what it was.
Something to do with impulses they were putting in through those little nodes or whatever. I can't.
Hole, something they put these
I
things,
can't remember.
but they put this picture in my school on the wall, and I would go to school and there would be tacks punched into my eyes and into my face and stuff, like just little stuff like that. Just that's what happened usually most of the time, and I just felt like nobody wanted to be the cancer kid's friend, right? But I did have the odd person that I could talk to, and
the adults were always showering her with gifts too. That kind of made the other kids jealous too. Their moms were always giving Beth stuff. Why did they always give Beth stuff? But
yeah, it's like you said, kids can be cruel because you just don't know any different, and you don't realize that. Yeah, you see, it's just different, and you don't know how to deal with it, and you're a kid, right? So.
And hindsight's 20/20 too. We could have just smiled a little bigger at them, or just been kinder to them, and maybe they would have been kinder back. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Or do you remember the time that Terry Fox's brother was Russell Fox?
Daryl
Fox.
You had your picture taken with him and had an interview with him.
Met Terry Fox's parents, and that was in '98, I think.
And what was that for?
Diagnosed in '98. It would have been in 1990, or maybe even it would have been in 1999 when you met Daryl Fox.
Yeah, they just came to our school to just talk to the school about Terry's story, about his
tour. Like Terry did a tour because he ran very close to where we were in Muscatawbut, Nova Scotia, and so they did. That was that school. Their school was part of that tour that year.
Okay, wait. I'm sorry. I don't know who this is. Is this a famous person?
Terry Fox.
Yeah.
Terry Fox. Who ran with one leg for cancer?
No, I don't know who that is. So I'm sorry.
The Marathon of Hope.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's great.
It still goes on every fall in schools. It still goes on every fall in schools.
The Terry Fox. Okay.
Schools. Terry Fox Marathon of Hope.
So so now I get it. So you got to meet with him one time and talk to him, Beth?
No, Terry Fox passed
away.
I met him across Canada. He didn't complete his run across Canada. he passed away in Ontario, and then, but his family, he's raised millions of dollars. If every Canadian gives a dollar a year to the Terry Fox Foundation, it's big, it's huge. So, and they do a lot of research, money for research, and it's come way because of Terry Fox.
Okay.
Beth is still here too because of Terry Fox.
Just
but he
from all
did
the
girl in the hospital at the same time as her. Her name was Melissa, and she was 15. And she had the same kind of cancer as Terry Fox. And yeah, she thought Beth was just the cutest little thing ever. And we visited back and forth, and she was friendly to me too. And we joked around, but yeah, she didn't make it. She went to Camp Good Time 1 year with Beth.
She was one of the friends that didn't make it.
Yeah, she was a sweetheart. But yeah, she had the same kind of cancer as Terry Fox, which is, I can't name it now, but
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that we could go on forever, but
I still have a book to write.
Yeah, let's write that book, Beth, and get it out there.
Because this is the 20-year anniversary of her being off treatments, not, nothing else. She was still building again, but yeah, here she is today, going to be 30.
Yeah.
I just had a CT scan a couple months ago now, after trying to get one for a long time. But it was clear, and it just had scar tissue found on the scan. So it was clear of cancer, though, just a bit of scar tissue, and everything is good and sound as a bell.
That's amazing. Well, I'm really glad you're here, and I'm glad you're here to talk with me. And
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great.
And since this is going to be out there, we want to say, pardon me, I got to clear my, say thanks to everybody at the IWK, the Isaac Walton Killam Hospital for families, women, and children in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Everybody from neurosurgery to dentistry to child life to everything in between. They're why she's here.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. And for anybody that's listening and watching, I'm really trying to find people with stories like Beth and Donna have, because I mentioned it earlier, but we can draw so much inspiration and hope and positive energy from each other, and the good things that have happened to us and the challenges we've been through. Doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be as I guess dramatic's the wrong word, but as dramatic as brain cancer. Simple stories. I'm talking to a lot of people, and I really love hearing stories, and I love helping you guys tell them. So anybody can reach out to me on Facebook. You can look me up. My name is Dirk Pointer, and I'll accept you as a friend. You can email us at regularamazingpeople@gmail.com, and I will look forward to meeting you and telling stories, and look for some referrals. So Beth and Donna, I really appreciate you coming on, and I can tell that this is a challenging story to tell, and I really appreciate you spending your time today. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Dirk.
All right, thank you.